All right, assignment number 1 for this class is to do a little bumper screen for an extinct film festival. So I'm going to launch After Effects. And the first thing we'll do, if you haven't already, go to the assignment and download festbumper-1.psd and import that into After Effects. So I'm going to click New Project on this screen. Then I'm going to hit Command I. I already have it downloaded to my hard drive. So assignment 1, I made an assets folder. There's my Fest bumper. You click Open, and the option that I would recommend when this dialog box comes up is to select Composition Retain Layer Sizes from Import Kind, and then just leave this as editable layer styles. Click OK. Now, take a look here. I've got my Fest bumper. Since you guys have a -1 on yours, I'll just change mine to match. If you select that, our dimensions of this Photoshop file are 1400 by 16 by 600, which is not a standard frame size for video. The assignment tells you to change it to standard definition widescreen format. Okay, so let's double click on this and open it up. Right now we've got all these graphics that fill the entire, that are, you know, they're kind of small for this canvas, but that was to make sure that they all imported in their entirety. The way to change your composition settings is Command K for composition, because they spell it phonetically with a K.
Why is yours smaller than mine?
Does yours look like that?
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to see your whole thing, just hit Command minus and that'll zoom out.
Okay.
Another thing, if you're on your mouse, you can accidentally scroll up and down with your mouse over this window and it'll scale it up and down using your mouse wheel. Alright, so Command K. I'm going to use a preset. Click on the preset drop down with the composition settings window open and select NTSC DV widescreen 23976. Okay. Duration, I think the assignment says to make it 15 seconds. Am I right? Can't remember. 15 seconds for this demonstration. Click OK. Now the graphics aren't quite fitting on the screen. If I hit Command K again, I want to draw your attention to one thing, this pixel aspect ratio. The pixels are 1.21 to 1, which means they're wide. Okay? They're wider than they are tall. If you look at this screen, I'm going to hit Command plus. This is not the appropriate, this doesn't look appropriate for a 16:9 screen. That's because we're seeing square pixels right now. That's what this button does. This pixel aspect ratio correction. If I click on that, then it'll correct the pixels so that they'll be displayed in there, what you would expect it to look like on a television screen. Okay? You're still working with this amount of pixels, but After Effects will do the correction for you. Alright, now where I would start with this is to get everything on the screen in the place and the size that you want it to end up. This isn't, what's wrong with this right now? Yeah, the number's cut off to the side, the logo's cut off on the side. Depending on what your personal preferences for this graphic, you could leave it here. I don't know. But yeah, we've got some resizing to do. Who wants to venture a really good guess as to how to get all of these to go smaller together?
Scale them together.
Okay, let's scale them all together. Select all of them. Hit S.
Command S.
Just S. That'll bring up your scale properties for all of those layers. And now let's just scale them down.
No.
Okay. How did that work out?
You parent them.
Yes.
That was good.
Yes. Okay. Right now this red texture is pretty centered up on the screen. I just want everything to scale down, but I want them to keep their relationship to one another. So let's grab, by the way, I undid that little scale so that I could return everything back to where it was. Let's grab the annual layer all the way down to the film strip layer and drag the pick whip to red texture, and now they will all follow the red texture. Now if I scale the red texture down to make it smaller, they all stay together. So I'm going to leave that right about there. All right. Now, just to be, you can leave this parent-child relationship intact, but I would unparent them now that you've got them all a relative size. So now select all those layers again, and then go to the parent column and just say none. I don't want to follow anybody. Okay, now they're all independent. Now you can go up and you can select the festival logo and the date and just bring them in so that there is some space. If the assignment says to make sure that all the titles are inside title safe, here's how you turn on your title safe. Click on this little crosshair right here and select title action safe. And then just make sure that all your titles are inside this vertical line right here. That one. All right. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so now, no matter what I do to my animation, this is where it'll end. Okay, so let's pretend I want all of this stuff to take maybe 2 seconds to make it on screen. So that's where I'll put my playhead. I'm going to start by, now I'm going to just describe what you're supposed to be doing. Then I'm going to show you my current project where it stands right now. And then your creativity needs to take over from here. Okay? So there's some things you need to do. I tell you to keyframe the animation of this film strip so that it's continually moving behind. I tell you to make a gradient in the background using the ramp, the gradient ramp effect. I tell you to make a shape layer and then use the repeaters to do a repeated shape in the background. I tell you to turn this into editable text, change the date. I tell you to change the date on 9th, or the number on 9th, so you need to turn that into editable text, I think. And then I tell you to use a combination of scale, rotation, and position, and opacity keyframes to find a way to animate this logo on, find a way to animate this on, and I think I just tell you with this layer to just fade it in using opacity settings. Okay. I worked on this for about 15 minutes today, or maybe 20 minutes, and I'll show you where I got with mine. I'm not going to save this, but I'm just showing you one example of what you could do. Okay, probably shouldn't, because then all you're going to try to copy me. All right, I'm just going to open the project. No, I'm not going to save this. I'm not interested in it. So I'm going to go to my sample project. My sample project is going to have broken assets. It's not going to know where the Photoshop file is because I unlinked it on purpose. I'm going to show you how to relink them. So if I click open for this project, I've got a font that's missing, apparently. I'll click OK there. 7 files are missing since I last saved this project. Click OK, and that's what it'll look like. It brings up color bars for any layer that's missing. Okay, and so I need to reconnect this media. These are just the layers of my festival bumper PSD. See, there's the 9th layer, annual. They all exist within the same Photoshop layer. So any one of these I can right click on, go to replace footage with the file, and then you just select the Photoshop file on your hard drive. This is what happens if you don't keep your project self-contained. If you move it to another computer, it loses it, and then you have to reconnect it. So if I hit open here, After Effects is smart enough to realize that you've selected the Photoshop file with all the other layers in it as well, and it'll reconnect them. See, 6 additional missing files have been found. And there's my project. Let me just show you what I did. I'm going to deconstruct my project for you. I'm going to hit U to collapse all these layers. And let's look at well, let me just hit spacebar, show you what I did. Alright, that's as far as I got. You're supposed to add another text layer that says it's all in good taste and put a preset animation on there. So what I did with this, let's just take a look right now at the cameraman and the Foursite Film Festival logo coming in. So I'm going to select both of those and then hit P. Actually, I'm going to hit U because it'll uncover all the keyframes. I've got the cameraman coming in really quick. I think that's 10 frames. And then I've got the film festival logo coming in over a 20 frame period. So it's almost 1 second. And they're both starting at the same time. So what that's doing is that's allowing the film festival logo to kind of trail after the cameraman layer. And I used a combination of a little bit of scale on the festival logo as well. So it looks like it is actually coming out from around behind, even though they're just doing this. They're sitting right on top of each other, but because the festival logo is scaling bigger as it's going forward, or as it's coming out, it looks like it's coming around from behind. Creates some false perspective. Let's take a look at this 9th layer. This one has the most keyframes on it, so if I hit U, I've got a combination of scale, rotation, opacity. Now here's what I do first. I say, this is where I want, because I scaled everything down and I put it where I wanted it to end. I say, alright, I'm going to do scale position, or scale, rotation, and opacity. So I'm going to go ahead and add a keyframe for all those right here. Okay, so I just added keyframes. Hit the stopwatch on all of them. Then I go to where I want the animation to start, and I move it to its starting point. So you kind of work backward. Okay, you say I want it to end here, and then you go back to the beginning and you say now I want to start out where you're from. Move you to where you're coming from. And then, so it's really big and it's rotating, so it's spinning and it's becoming more opaque simultaneously, and that's how I did that. Then I used a animation preset for annual. So if I hit U here, I've got a little animator that's doing a couple different properties. Let me twirl this down for you so you can see. I've got text, and then I've got this animate going on the position and the opacity. And then the range selector is just dropping letters in one at a time. I started out with one of the animation presets for that, but it didn't have opacity on it. So I had to add the opacity by adding this property, opacity. So then the one range selector will do it to all of those that you add. Hopefully the book has explained those animation presets pretty well. I think it does. And then I just grabbed another animation preset for, well, I made this editable text, changed the text, and then put the animation preset on it. And then I added an ease to the second keyframe and brought them closer so that, because by default the animation presets are 2 seconds long. You don't need to see this fade on for 2 seconds. Like, it's just too long. It's unnecessary. Okay, now let me go down here, select all these, collapse all the keyframes. I'm going to solo the background. See, there's my shape layer. There's my repeated shapes. And that's what they're doing. So I'm really just doing this to the one shape, but the repeater will add all the extras. And then I've got my gradient ramp, and I'm using a darken blend mode so that my shapes are blending into the background a little bit more. All right. So with the exception to, I mean, here's the thing. We start out with nothing on the screen. Then we've got fading, we've got materializing using scale and rotation and position. And then we just kind of keep that animation going for the full 15 seconds. So it only took me 2 seconds, no, let's see, 4 seconds to have everything on the screen. Then that film strip just keeps moving and the shape keeps doing its thing in the background over the course of the rest of the 15 seconds. Okay, so the animating you're doing, the hardest part of the animation is the fastest part. You know, if it takes 3 full seconds for your logo to go from here, or actually, if it takes 4 full seconds for it to go fade in here and then slowly come down like that, you know. Hopefully you've got a really epic soundtrack going underneath it, because that's kind of boring, you know. So usually if you don't have the luxury of soundtrack or sound effects, something faster and more snappy is usually better.
Does After Effects do audio, or do you typically do all your animation in After Effects and then?
Yeah, I'll do the animation in After Effects and then use an audio editor or a video editor to add sound effects to it. And then sometimes I'll end up going back to After Effects because there's maybe one more snap or something I want to add, you know. If you want to get kind of crazy, then at this point I could reparent all of these to the red texture, and then maybe instead of sorry, this is me just brainstorming right now, but let's pretend this festival logo really did have some crazy scale thing happening. Let's make it super big and then add some transparency settings to it. Make that fade in. Then it fades in, goes into place. But I'm going to have it stop here, and I'm going to add like some major snap scale down to this position. The way to do that, I wasn't going to get into the graph editor yet, but we've done it with the time remap tool already, right? If you click on the graph editor and you take this handle, that will slow down the start of it and then make it really snap into place. So check this out. Boom.
Whoa.
Okay. And you can even make it snap even harder if you collapse the handle on this one all the way. Okay. Definitely going to want to have some motion blur on that as it comes into this position. All right. Now, because all of these layers are parented to the red texture layer, let's go to the exact frame that film festival logo hits and do like a jerk motion on it and have it crash in. Okay, so let's take, what would we have? Some rotation, shift S for scale, and position. So let's have it start right there. Now, I'm just going to go 2 frames. I'm going to scale it up, move it down, maybe move it up a little bit, rotate it this way, go forward maybe 3 more frames, rotate it the other way, move it down, make it go smaller, and then go forward a few more frames. And now I want it to return back to resting position, to its first position.
Copy all those keyframes.
Yep. So let's copy these first keyframes, copy, paste. Now that'll return it back to its starting position. Now let's see what this looks like. Now I'm going to want motion blur on all of it. Motion blur. Here we go. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, the motion blur just slowed it down a whole bunch. It's going to be fun though. Another thing I could do is at this point I could add a rotation. I should probably put the film festival logo, stack it on top so that it's covering everything right now. I need to turn on the continually rasterize function for it, but here we go. It's going to smash. Crunch. All right. Okay. It was okay. Should have it like go scale down first and then rebound back up and then settle into place, right? So the inertia. I had it like scale up first. I should have had it scale down first. Anyway, all right, that's enough off-the-cuff demonstration. Is that enough to go on? It's probably more than you needed. I'm going to save that. Always save. Thank you.